Nah, and I was telling her, it isn't on, you know, and... Is there a baby? Is there a baby in this bar? Anyways, like I was saying, it was just the fact that... you know what? Don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. Good news to all US yappers who have bought the merch. We are finally now able to ship out all of these orders. The backlog, it is gonna break me. It's gonna break my back, but that's okay. I'm getting them out. I'm getting them out as soon as possible. Head over to dramaqueen.myshopify.com if you haven't scored your merch yet. Now enjoy the show. The discourse surrounding children being in adult spaces becoming more of a problem really took off last year with all of the Sephora Kids incidents over on TikTok. Children going into a space that if you were brought up in the early 2000s, you would have been told you have to wait until you're older to go into. Whereas parents of today, given that they are a little confused on where to bring their children, as child spaces, child third spaces for the most part, are being erased slowly but surely. And one of the biggest reasons people had a problem with the Sephora Kids to begin with is for the very fact that children are messy, they are destructive, especially without parental supervision. And given how a large portion of Gen Alpha parents carry themselves, we bear witness to the disaster of that. Children of today really struggle to find a place in the world where they can call their own, seeming as child spaces are going extinct. And in a way, this forces children to have to go into these adult spaces to find just a smidge of belonging, though we're not talking about any of that in today's video, which is something that I keep seeing being confused with. Don't bring children into bars, don't bring children into public. These aren't the same thing whatsoever. We're not talking about 10-year-old Emily begging her parents to take her to Sephora because all her favorite TikTokers shop there. Rather, a growing storm of resentment towards children as adult spaces are seemingly to now be welcome of under 18s roaming about without parental supervision or attention. Now you might ask, Caitlin, what are specifically explicit adult spaces? Well, when we think of adult spaces, we think of bars, breweries, wineries, casinos, pretty much any establishment that can foster a rather, what would you say, inappropriate environment, as well as these establishments having their main focus on serving alcohol to, that's right, adults. A lot of people are divided in the conversation of whether a child should be allowed in a bar or not, especially when the environment in a bar can be distressing for a child. For many years, especially here where I live in Australia, parents have been taking their kids along with them to pubs and restaurants that serve alcohol, as mum and dad having a drink with their dinner isn't unusual here in Australia. I don't know about other parts of the world, but I know that as soon as you turn 18 here, you're on the piss. So like I said, it's not unusual for kids to tag along with their parents to the pub because it is an environment where so many families go to have a munch. There are even areas that are specifically blocked off to children inside of these venues, such as casinos and chuff area. Well, not chuff, but you know what I mean. It's not that children shouldn't be allowed near drinks in the sense that they can't be near their dad's beer, but it is inappropriate, in my big fat opinion to bring along your 8-year-old to a bar that specifically is focused on serving drinks, not food, and you're only bringing your kid because you deserve a drink. Well, you do, you know, everybody deserves a sip and snack. But like, if it's really that important, can we not just go buy a bottle of wine and sit at home and monitor the children? Because whenever parents go into these kinds of establishments, you know, these adult spaces, they really tend to mismanage their children in the sense that they just aren't watching them. They are treating these spaces as though they are daycares, and it's not fair to other patrons. Especially because if I go into a bar, I'm kind of expecting there to only be adults. I'm not really looking forward to seeing children just running rampant. Like, so then why aren't you at TGI's? I never attended a bar, casino, or any real adult space like that when I was a kid with my parents. They simply just didn't go to these places, or they found somebody to look after my siblings and I. Because back when I was growing up, 01 baby here, yes, we getting up there in unk status apparently, it was well understood that these were not child-friendly spaces. But parents of today just don't seem to care about that, especially if they're to give the damn thing an iPad to blast Cocomelon from. The problem is the fact that Gen Alpha parents treat these spaces as daycares because, oh, my kid is cute, therefore other people are gonna think my kid is cute, so it's okay that I let my kid annoy the bartender where adults are drinking. Now, this may be an unpopular opinion, but I don't think that parents with their kids should be completely shunned from these establishments like bars and like breweries. Where it becomes an issue for everybody is when the child is left unsupervised, allowed to do whatever they want, and annoy fellow patrons who are just trying to sip on their Jack and Coke in peace without hearing a crying little shit all up in their ears. And honestly, I think that is quite reasonable. I don't want that either. But it really Sorry, yappers, I really had to unlock that guttural scream in me. Yes, I'll try and start a band one day. It really does get to a point when you have children crawling all over the floor, becoming a whole ass risk to servers coming around with glasses of alcohol. And look, the parents do absolutely nothing because what do you want them to do? Yeah, so funnily enough, that sentence was actually said to my partner and I the other day when we were waiting in line to order coffee. We had both seen that there was a little girl, couldn't be any more older than like 4, absolutely just gnawing, like on this packaged sandwich. And my partner found that to be a bit gross because like, that sandwich is possibly going to be bought by somebody who has no idea that, yeah, that wet sandwich, it has nothing to do with the tomatoes like maybe leaking out. No, a child was like chewing all over that. So, oh my God, I'm rambling. My partner lets the dad know, hey, your kid is chewing on this sandwich. Like, it was just letting the dad know, and he immediately got all hostile and defensive as if we were saying something about his kid, which we weren't. We were saying something about his parenting because he was on his phone not supervising his children. Now, what if that sandwich was something else, something a lot more dangerous, something harmful to her system, and then goes on to say, well, what do you want me to do about it? I don't know. Like, maybe watch your child. Maybe watch the damn kid. And then he was like, oh, it's not like she did it. Bro, she was chewing on that like a dog with its favorite toy. But because of this mindset that a lot of Gen Alpha parents possess, it is exactly the reason why we are seeing absolutely nothing done in public spaces, let alone adult spaces, where they're not necessarily welcome. Those parents didn't do a damn thing to pull their children in line because they truly think, they truly believe they are owed that glass of wine. Now, hey, maybe you are. Maybe it's been a rough day and you're just like, oh my God, I cannot with these kids. But it's really frustrating because then your decisions in life then fall onto everybody else's. Was it not your choice to have the kids? That means that you have to be responsible for them. It's the exact reason why I am not having kids. Well, one of the many reasons. I simply do not want to be responsible for another human being other than myself. But when it comes to nighttime, where you have so many adults congregate into one space, and then on top of that, parents feeling comfortable enough to tell other adults how they should and should not act, how they should and should not speak around children that they chose to bring into these adult spaces. At a brewery, we were talking about something raunchy and a couple with 2 kids sat at the table next to us. The mum snapped at us saying we shouldn't curse in public because kids are nearby. Isn't it really ironic how parents are willing to bring their children into these spaces but are the very first to complain when adults are being adults in adult spaces meant for adults? Because my question here is, why are you bringing a whole child into an atmosphere where there are drunk dickheads being drunk dickheads, talking about stuff, cursing, all of that? People say all sorts of things when they're on the piss. I remember last year when I was at a beer garden in Surfers Paradise with my partner, I was talking about some big like 10, 15 inch dildos that we had seen in, you know, that I'm not going to say the shop, but it's that one shop. If you know, you know, if you've been to Surfers. Now, because there is straight piss just flowing through my veins and I'm just not really aware, sorry lamp, I'm just not really aware of my surroundings at that moment. I did not see that there was a woman sitting with her 2 kids right near us, not really enjoying the conversation that we're having. And she kept going, and that's when I finally noticed she was not liking this conversation. So of course, because I see children, I don't care that I'm in an adult space. I don't really want kids to hear what I'm talking about. So I immediately, you know, cease that conversation. However, in my mind, I was like, well, why the are they here then, cunt? If I am in an adult space, I'm probably most likely going to have adult conversations as I am an adult. And it is not up to me, it is not my job to behave myself in an adult space that allows me to behave a certain way around your kids that, one, I had no idea that were sitting near me because I'm drunk. And second off, why are they here? It's literally 11 o'clock at night. Go to bed. Actually, better yet, take them to bed. When you bring your baby to the bar and she steals the show. Am I just a big, mean bitch? But like, I don't find any of this cute. No, I don't. Like, this kind of stuff is not cute to me. If I'm at a bar, the last thing that I want to hear is a baby on the mic. But it's a bit strange to bring along a baby to a bar when, what do you do at a bar? You drink. And what do you need to do to get from the bar back home? Drive. And what can you not do or be whilst driving? Drunk. That is why I'm more critical than understanding, because it puts these children in danger. I don't know how much you're gonna drink. Why are you even going to a bar if you're just gonna have one standard glass? Just go home. Better yet, you get to enjoy an entire bottle of wine. Just so long that these kids are safe, dude. Like,
you're not entitled to a child-free world. You're not entitled to a child-free world. Yeah, but you know what I am entitled to? A child-free brewery. Why are there 4-year-olds with iPads running around, tripping servers, carrying 6 beers when I'm trying to cry about a boy getting drunk midday? Why is your 5-year-old daughter playing giant Jenga and ruining everything for everybody? It's giant Jenga because it's for big people. You're a tiny little baby person. Go home and play regular size Jenga. This is a brewery. This is where we go to get day drunk and cry and get hungover by 6 p.m. I don't think I'm entitled to a child-free world, but I do think we are all entitled to a child-free brewery. Leave them at home.
To be honest, I really don't hate this take, as I think it's quite reasonable to not want kids in an establishment that just isn't made for them. I've been to a few breweries that have coloring books and like shitty playgrounds in the corner, but it's just the most depressing to see. Because when I go into a brewery, I only have me to look after. And I can sit in one for hours on end just chatting. And that is what I see parents coming in with their children doing as well. And children, mind you, get bored very fast, and it is very unfair to them to stick them in a place that already doesn't want them there. A lot of parents use these spaces as babysitters, and it isn't fair. And it's really worrisome to me because when it was a lot warmer earlier this year, I went to a brewery with my friend and we were there for like almost 5 hours. Periodically, I get up to go to the toilet because my bladder can't handle that piss. And I walked past these kids that I saw when I came in and I was like, hold on a second. They could have been there for a lot longer. This is not okay. That's not okay whatsoever. Like, you want to get out of the house, you want to socialize with your friends, you want that like little bit of normalcy back in your life with the things that you used to go out and enjoy doing before kids. I don't know. I feel like a cunt whenever I say this kind of stuff, but it was your decision to have kids. The things that I used to do before kids was probably because I didn't have any responsibilities. I only had myself to take care of, and it becomes a lot harder to do that once you have mini yous running around. Let me tell you, most people who are in these spaces, they don't want to hear your kids. They don't want to trip over these kids. They don't really want these mini hazards running around because it's not necessarily their fault, but children don't know any better. They're gonna try and do anything they can to occupy themselves whilst their parent is over in the corner on the 5th or 6th hour just drinking away. It goes even as far as to bars receiving negative, poor reviews, not for their service or lack of, not for the quality of the drinks, but because these bars don't want babies up in the joint. This bar did not let my 9-month-old daughter in, which resulted in my group taking our business elsewhere. This was on 5:30 on a Wednesday and not some unreasonable hour. If you serve food, then there is never a valid excuse to exclude patrons. Not that I've ever been, but strip clubs serve food. A lot of strip clubs serve food. Some of the casinos that I've been into also serve food. And those are not child-friendly spaces whatsoever. Just because a place serves food must mean a kid should be allowed in it? That's not exactly how it works, especially if the bar explicitly states that it is a child-free bar, which is very reasonable in my opinion. It is not denying you of a service. It is not discriminating against you. It's not even discriminating against you just because you have a child. No. I read their response and they didn't want your child in their establishment, as it's very easy once you're drinking to lose focus of what your child is doing, and then suddenly the child is getting in the way of servers, glasses are being broken, something may happen to this baby. It's a whole ordeal and it just doesn't need to happen. I really hate people like this. Like, you left a bad review because an establishment is presenting responsibility that you don't seem to have? This woman is yelling at a mother to take her baby out of a bar. But they're at a bar and grill restaurant, which is completely different to a standalone bar. And in that case, it would warrant a conversation of potentially having the mother leave with her kid. Inside many restaurants, they have a bar attached. Think of like Applebee's or TGI's or Sporting Globe. Children being present in these restaurants are not a problem, as they tout themselves to be family friendly. Again, they aren't a standalone bar where it would make more sense for people to get upset at parents for bringing in their kids that have absolutely no business of being there. I get it. There are so many parents that I have come across in public who do absolutely nothing to console their kids when they're bawling their eyes out and they're crying and they're throwing the biggest tantrum and it just won't stop. Like, it'll go on for hours. But unfortunately, these kind of restaurants aren't child crying free. And I can't even tell this person like, oh, if you wanted to have the experience of no children present, just go to a bar or a brewery or something, because this is a problem, and I don't really understand why parents are just so okay with bringing their children into child-free spaces, or spaces that are meant to be child-free. So with all of that being said, everybody, what are your thoughts and opinions on this entire topic? Maybe I have some parents in the audience who completely disagree with this video, and I would love to know why. I would love to know a parent's perspective on this matter, because I can only come at this as a former child. Yes, we're all former children here. And as somebody who has thought so much about having children and then coming to the conclusion that no, that's not my path, twin. So with all of that being said, everybody, thank you so much for coming out to Yappersville today, everybody. Take care of yourselves, and most of all, love your fucking selves.